it was one of those that was so perfect when you've done it, you know damn well you won't do it again. Or if you do, it'll take a hell of a lot of hard work, because these things can't be forced. So Marmite, one of probably the proudest ones I've done in a collection that I've waited nearly 20 years to do. Hi, we're Peter and Jayne Smith, and to celebrate 20 years with Castle Fine Art, we're breaking down 10 of our most iconic pieces. The management. Now this is way back. This is 2004, even though the print came out in 2005. I'd actually designed this the previous year. And these two characters, although they're quite simple, these are my two old bosses. And this is how they used to walk into a room together. One used to look over the shoulder of the other, a bit shorter. So, to give you an example, one was tall like that, the other one was quite low, and they used to come bobbling in. Now the thing is, they reminded me so much of a photograph that was taken in the 60s by David Bailey. And it was of two gangsters, the Cray twins. And it was such an infamous photograph, and it was done black and white, but they had the same pose. And I thought, how fun would it be to take my two old bosses and actually transform them into the Impossibles that I'd started to create by that time. 2004 was like a watershed moment, because it was where I came up with the signature shape. If you have a look here, it's actually a little bit different as well from the Impossibles you see nowadays, because the one thing that is different is this shape that comes round. We've still got the round bottom nose, but the new Impossibles actually have a straight line here and here, and then actually go into a circle like that, where these are more curved. And it was to just give like an expression, a bit more of a volume to their face, because say it or not, they were actually a little bit plump as well. So it worked in that respect. But this piece, the management, actually formed part of a collection which was the Art of Surprise, that came out in 2005. It was the debut collection of the Impossibles. The entire collection sold out in 24 hours. And that was the beginning of the Impossibles. It absolutely scared me senseless when it came out. I'd never seen anything change my life so quick and so dramatically as this did overnight. So to actually see this again. Some interesting things about this. This piece was actually sent, weirdly, to possibly one of the most famous prisoners in the UK, which is Charles Bronson. He liked it. He knew the Cray twins originally from the 60s, I believe, and he sent me a Christmas card back saying how fantastic it was, and I've still got that in the studio now. So yeah, a little twist in the Impossible tale of where this piece has taken me. Sticking with Art of Surprise, so it's not fancy dressed then. And at this stage with the Impossibles, all the Impossibles are based on real people. This one in particular is actually me in the centre, and it describes a situation, a fancy dress party that I went to, but it wasn't, and I turned up in fancy dress. And how to represent that in a sea of Impossibles is this. This is me looking an absolute idiot in the centre of all this, and the sheer embarrassment of that occurring. If you look at all the Impossibles round, you've actually got, let me get a pen on here. If you look at the directions of them, we've got the ones that are looking straight across at me, the ones that are looking up here to actually register their disgust with their companion, and then you've got the other with the sly look out of the eyes that we've got there, the unbelievable looks straight ahead that somebody's actually dare walk in like this when we was only joking it was fancy dress, and the other ones with the tut and the eye roll that we've got up there. Now this was huge when I did it. Initially this was meant to be 4 times this size, and this character was meant to be really small, but as I started to do it, it got intensely boring. Drawing all these out, all these characters, the Impossibles around the side, there was such a lot of them, and all I was painting was pink circles with eyes and things like that. So what I did was I narrowed it down and actually made the Impossible the centre of attention, except I actually moved it off the centre on purpose to throw your eye off. So just something as simple as this, which was me going to a fancy dress party in fancy dress that wasn't a fancy dress, led to so many things, and each and every impossible piece that we've got has got a tail behind it like that, and they lead in so many different directions. So I'll take you through some in the next few pieces. Rampant, Jekylled, Whatabanker. Bit of a mouthful. This piece is from 2013. It formed part of a collection called Bloodlines, which in itself, I think it was either 6 or 8 pieces, but all those pieces were actually a murder mystery. And we did publish a solution to this murder mystery online. But what it was is, you got a brochure with it, and the brochure outlined a murder. And the pieces contained within, of which this was one of them, you needed to read the stories, look at the piece, and work out what I was actually trying to tell you. Now, the solution online will show you how all these connect together. But I'll take this one just to give you an example on what the stories were like, because the stories were completely off the wall as well. Now, if we look at the dial on the clock, we actually got here 12 o'clock, and just there is 7 minutes past 12. Now, the 7 minutes past 12 and this angle actually corresponds to one of the clues in the murder mystery, because it starts at the base of Big Ben. So if you imagine a map of London, look up Big Ben, okay? This angle as you see it, look at north, and you take north on the map and you put this angle on there, okay? Once the angle's on there, you've then got 7 minutes. So you look at the scale on whatever scale you are using, and you mark off 7 on there. And that gives you a location in London. And that's one of the beginning clues. Now you may be wondering, well, that doesn't do anything for me other than just points in one particular direction. Okay, we'll take it further. The next thing in the story, it tells you about the jelly beans and the sweets. Take the jelly beans that you've got on this side and count them all. Mixed in there, you'll find odd little sweets which don't actually fit. Those sweets are from a game called Candy Crush, which was popular at the time we did this. You minus those sweets from the rest of the jelly beans that we have through here, and it gives you another number on top of there. Mysteriously, where this location lands, I'll give you a clue, because it's an institute that deals with numbers. And if you take the number that's contained in here and look up this institute, you'll find something online which sends you in a different direction. Now, all these were an absolute nightmare to put together. All the different pieces sent you all over London, until eventually you ended up with some kind of map that looked like this, like that. Looked completely random, until you worked out the last piece in the puzzle, which was the last story in the Bloodlines book. And that told you to join the pieces up. Well, every time there was a corner point on what you'd actually deduced, you joined it to the opposite one, like this. And as you went through and joined them all up, it highlighted one location. And that location happened to be the Black Museum in London. But also there was a second location shown, and it was the location of the Magic Circle as well. And those two joined together in yet another piece to tell you the solution to the murder mystery. I mean, that's just a very, very small little bit of the entire lot that went together. Yeah, really good to pull off. Incredibly difficult to tell people in the galleries when you say, do you like this painting? But it worked. The Cantering Caketacular Queen of Bakes. Now the first thing is, because the whole thing is about baking, inside here is cupcakes. Now there's one that's actually quite obvious. Right at the top that we've got here, you'll find there's a cupcake. Now remember, this is from the Bloodlines collection of 2013, so it's actually part and parcel of the murder mystery again. Now the reason for this is, in the story when you read it, it tells you about the cupcakes and how many are there. Well, when we look through this, we can see one. So when you look closely, you start to spot other things. Even without looking, I remember where I put them. So right hand side we've got one here in the mouse hole, which is just there, scattered around. You'll actually find another one, which we can probably just make out down here, tucked away, just behind the leg in the shadows. And if you look right up here, just right at the top of this piece here, there's a brick, and upside down is a cupcake imprinted in it. And you'll find little cupcakes scattered all the way through this as well. I'm not going to show you them all, so you can have a look yourself and find them. And when you work out how many cupcakes are in there, that helps you along with the rest of the story and the rest of the murder mystery from Bloodlines. Now the great thing about this is, this whole scene I actually built in a shoebox in the studio, and I made sure it was the same scale, dimensions and everything on how it would be in that particular story, and I made it completely to scale. We've still got this in the studio. We've got all the little bits that I made for it as well. Even the jam tarts, we modelled these all individually and put a bit of blob of paint inside it, and I even painted the little pips of the jam tart on there. That's how bad we got with it. But the shoebox was, if I can get this here, was literally this bit here that we've got there, and it was just photographed at an angle. So photographed from this angle, but I actually lit it as well from a slightly shallower angle like this. And one final thing is this range at the back, old-fashioned range, which looks as though it comes from the Victorian period, but it's actually based on one of my relatives' house, because they had one of these ranges when I was growing up, and I was amazed by it, that the fact that you cook things by putting coals in here, and that was it. It was just no gas, no electric, you don't switch it on, you stuff coals in there, put something in here and it came out burnt, and that was amazing in itself. So as a nod to that, we put the range in there as well. All roads lead to you. Now this is a really interesting piece because it's one of the first real romantic pieces that we did, but we want to do something completely different. So even though we've got the traditional couple, in this case 2 impossibles on there, we needed to represent everybody in one piece, which is hard because basically this is hills, people, moon. Okay, so I'll give you an idea on how this works. For a start, these people, impossibles, I'm calling them people because they are actually real people. These are 2 people that we know, and in real life they have been together for so many years. If you want to know how many years, then count all the hearts, because this represents them, which is great because that makes it about that couple. But that couple could also be you as well, and that's what made this piece so popular. People saw themselves in it. Now we like to ramp things up a little bit more, so as well as that, this piece works in dark environments better. When it was painted, all the stars that we have around here was painted in titanium white. That reflects light at a lot faster rate than any other whites that we use. The stars were actually pulled to little points on the original, so they stood up and reflected light from any direction quite easily. When we printed it, this was printed on canvas on board, we did the same. We actually made the stars highlight. So if you was in a darkened room, this piece almost looks like the stars come out at night in your own room. Weird, I know, but you'll find that everything else gets dark first, but the stars remain and are the last ones to disappear on this piece. The reason we wanted that to happen is because all that has happened in this piece is actually written in the stars. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, at first glance, you can't tell. It's only when you look closely, you find out that the entire piece is a dot-to-dot picture. So if we take here, for example, we actually have an O. Next to it, you'll find a V. And then if you follow down and actually look for the most prominent stars, you'll actually find that it actually got the word love written above it. Not only that, you'll also find 3 other hearts in there and the symbol for eternity, all contained in the stars. And it was that side that we never revealed to people until they met us in the gallery, and we could tell them and take them through it and show them all the individual pieces, and that's what made this piece so incredibly popular. Tipsy. Now this one's really interesting. This is 2019 Softly Taboured collection. By this time we'd brought out so many different drink ones, but we really needed to start ramping the drink side up, because we knew we enjoyed painting it, but it gave you a different skill of painting, because when you paint drink, you can paint glass, you can paint liquid, you can paint bottles, you can do all different fun things with it. So we start with a foundation, as we've got down here, and we've got one glass. Well, we need the centre point of that to support the next glass up. So you'll see we've actually got a shot glass, and it's roughly in line with that section there to give it some support. The next one, you need to make sure that the glass here is at an angle where if you balance something on there, it won't slide off, believably. I'm not saying this would occur in real life, but you've got to believe that it won't slide off. So we angle the glass just enough so the next glass has an axis that feels comfortable. So we've got there, and we get the next one up there, and so on. We keep building this so each angle feels comfortable and believable that we've got, until we get to the final impossible. That is really important, because when you look at a piece like this, the first thing you do is you scan it all the way up and down. First of all, your brain registers that it's all correct and nothing's out of place. Then you get a little bit of ooh, like that, because you understand the title, Tipsy, and then you take in the piece as a whole. How does this work with your brain? It's the way you look at any painting, you start to triangulate things. Now we're getting a bit technical with this, because when I painted this, it was a technical painting rather than a painting just in the space of trying to make an impossible look cute. So the way I did this, we built a pyramid. And the pyramid is, when you look at this, you scan it, and you start at the top and scan down. And most people do this subconsciously, they won't even realise that. So your first point of contact would be here, and you'd stare at it, and immediately you'd look down. And the way you look down, as you come down the piece like this, your eyes expand, and they take in more of the piece as it comes down. So I've expanded the piece as it comes down as well, as it comes down here, to actually take in the account that your eye will do that, to make the whole thing feel comfortable. And also, the glasses angle left, right, left, right, left, right, like that. So it gives you a feeling of conformity as well. Now all this sounds absolute tosh, but believe me, those principles, if you apply them to something like this, make it look a lot more comfortable, make it feel a lot more cuter, and it makes me get a message across about feeling tipsy a lot easier. As well as that, it was an excellent trial in painting glass, liquid and everything else. And because of that, it was incredibly popular. To give you an idea on how popular this was, one gallery, I mean we're talking one gallery in the UK, alone sold 68 of these within the space of a week. It was that popular. And it's something as an artist you strive to do again and again and again, but it doesn't come along very often. But this one hit the nail on the head. 2021 and Gintoxicated. This is the opposite way to this, and it's another example of almost teaching you different methods of painting. So you can see this one, we've got vertical one and glasses and liquid. If we take this one, we go to the other extreme now. So on Gintoxicated, we concentrated on bottles, but it's also one of the first ones that went full pelt towards parodying products. And you can see that from the amount of different, in this case, gins that we've got. A lot of the gins are slightly disguised from what they are. It's like we've got Bombay Sapphire, which has got Fubar on there, and you've got another pink gin here, which is actually Manchester gin, and we've got Bonker gin, which is Conker gin, and you'll find that a lot of the gins you'll probably recognise through there. I initially drew a grid that we've got like this. Obviously the grid was using a ruler, not in the case that we've got here. And on that grid, I took the largest bottle I could find online and got the dimensions of the bottle and measured the dimensions that I needed between those two. Now from that point I started to work out the dimensions of the other bottles that I didn't have to make sure that I got them all correct and to scale. That was incredibly difficult to do because a lot of the manufacturers don't give the bottle sizes. So where I got something that was like 75ml or anything like that, I had to work out what type of bottle size that would work and how it actually fitted in this piece. So it's one of the, in fact it is the only piece that I've completed that I didn't have any of the elements to paint in the first place. So very quickly I started adding bottles up. Now as I added the bottles on as well, you have to take into account the way colours work in the translation of how people see it. To give you an example of that, we've got here a purple one. If I put a blue next to that, here or here, comfortably, it doesn't work because your brain is seeing too many blues as it goes across. So you'll find I've actually spaced blues out from each other. Likewise, I've spaced pinks out, and then I've used incidental colours as we've got here and down here to fill in other gaps. Now this gives you almost like, if you have a look, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it gives you that rhythm as it goes through each piece that is comfortable to live with. So even though these look as though they're random bottles, random impossibles doing random things on there, every single item has been planned. Planned to feel right colour, planned to feel right in balance, planned to feel right in height, scale and everything like that. So the planning on this took longer than the painting itself, and it was all painted without having any of the bottles to work from. Right, 2024 Shelf Life Collection. Out of every collection we've produced, the Shelf Life collection is probably, it's probably difficult to say this, the ultimate of what I've always wanted to achieve. It's getting to a point where I can choose any subject of anything at all, any genre, and actually replicate it. Now, something as simple as Marmite, you would have thought is straightforward. Well, what's he on about? It's just a tub of Marmite. But there is an art to this type of thing. It's getting something so right first time that you'll know, doesn't matter how many times you attempt it again, you'll never ever do it again. There's not many of these come along because Marmite has been done by numerous artists. You'll see it all over the place. But actually taking Marmite into something completely different that is a social statement and also very humorous is the bit that's elevated it. So Marmite started as one of 8 products which are whittled down eventually to the 4 that was released as part of Shelf Life. And this one begun very simple and very straightforward by a tub of Marmite on the edge of the easel which I photographed, and then stripped everything off it. So I had a blank Marmite jar and actually tried writing different things on there to see what would work. The first thing is Marmite, it needed to be identifiable still as Marmite. Well, the jar does that. The text as well, if it starts with an M, you almost start to say Marmite as you go through it. And it got me thinking, I wanted 2 impossibles actually carrying this jar on as if they were just walking along, carrying it in, and you was reading the jar as it actually passed by. And I thought, 2, couple, married, so we'll start with that. But also, I started to create a list of jokes. Now, not married jokes, but statements about marriage. And one thing that stuck in my head was like it or lump it, which is very similar to the Marmite statement, love it or hate it. So how about combining the two? Keep the love it or hate it in, which is like a Marmite strapline, but actually have the title like it or lump it to tie the 2 things together. And what ties that together? Married. I mean, if we put partners, that would work in there, but it's not as funny because it doesn't begin with the M. So you needed something to tie that in there. But also you needed what they call a spin-off joke. So you've got the main joke, like to lump it, and the married, but the spin-off joke is the bottom thing that we've got here, the art of knowing when to shut up, that we wrote in down here. And that absolutely nailed it, because you've got so many areas you can pull on. Very hard to describe. That's very simple on how I've actually gone through this. But it was one of those that was so perfect when you've done it, you know damn well you won't do it again. Or if you do, it'll take a hell of a lot of hard work, because these things can't be forced. So Marmite, one of the probably the proudest ones I've done in a collection that I've waited nearly 20 years to do. This will probably be the first time you've seen this, and this is one of 5 in the new collection called Scoff. So immediately you can see it's Bisto, but we've got Bestie in there, so our Bestie. But we've got other little twists as well. 2 Impossibles, one looking at the other, they're almost giving a little wave like that. So we've got 2 Besties in there, a little bit of the gravy granules scattered around the bottom, and you've got You're My Favourite. But we've also got established BFF, you know, little subtle hint there, and Friends Through Thick and Thin. Now the thing that ties all this together as well is the fact of the title, and the title is You Know Too Much. Ideal. The whole thing just ties together with all the different elements in one go. Now, same again, remember on previous pieces I've talked about getting something that feels comfortable. Now this is comfortable in a way that's probably quite unexpected. It's actually a Victorian poster. When they used to advertise soap or anything like that, Pears soap especially is one that comes to mind, or Oxo, they used to do it in a certain way, and they used to put the product quite centrally, and they normally used to have incidental characters in there. Now they may have had kittens, they may have had dogs, they may have had the lady of the house or things like that, and they used to have them peering around or looking at the product or pointing at things like that. So this is reminiscent of that. The only difference with Victorian advertising material is that this probably would have been in a form that would have been on a poster like this that we've got, and then they would have had something like buy, Bisto, etc. And that's what we tried to do with this. We tried to make it feel like that poster, so there could be some more text down here and a bit of decoration that they used to have like up here. And then before you know it, we've got the same layout that they used for advertising purposes. Now if you wonder why I've done that, is because I want this to feel like an advert for this product, but also feel comfortable that you understand the product and enjoy the statement that's in it. So even though it's funny, even though it's graphic, it has an anchor back in history and to why it's presented this way. Now I hope you enjoy Scoff. This is one of 5, and we think they are some of the best shelf life pieces we've produced.
In you go. Just what's the?
I know. I work with Peter Smith that always says watch whatever. Oh dear, it's a bit bright back here.
I know, wrinkles and everything, isn't it?
Don't say that to me.
So I just wanted you guys to talk a bit about what's it like seeing all the artwork together again and reminiscing the 20 years.
Horrendous.
It's absolutely fantastic to see the pieces because it's so easy to forget. You don't forget them, but because you haven't seen them for a long while, it's really nice to see them come back out and remember why they were done and which collections they were in.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. It's that's the corporate line. It's
no, it's not.
Yeah, it's weird because it's been a hell of a journey, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. It's
Yeah, it has.
20 years to get to this stage, and we're still learning. We're still learning, and we're still doing new things, which is amazing. You know, it's, and the thing is, we've only got here not because of what we've done. We've got here because of people who've collected, and it's a big thing. It's one thing being able to paint and create. It's another thing being able to survive painting and creating, and that's something that you can't really take away. And it's other people, not us, that's brought us here. So thank you all.
Hi, we're Pete.
Do you want me to count you in?
No, so I'll do it if you want.
Oh,
and
all
say,
right then,
all right?
go on.
Or do you want to do it?
No, go on. Go on, do it.
Or should I say, I'm Peter, and you say, I'm Jayne?
No, say you're Peter and Jayne.
Okay. Right, okay.
Say we are. That's
Yeah.
more grammatically correct.
Yeah. What we say after that?
I've no idea.
Right, okay.